Welcome to summer 2020 and Introduction to Psychology. I'm glad you're here to join me this summer in this adventure through the world of my personal favorite topic, psychology. I'm recording this video sort of as an introduction to the course, kind of what we would maybe have done on the first day of class to kind of introduce you to the expectations of the class. It might have started off as an expectation that this would have been face-to-face. And I'm going to try and supplement the course with some videos, maybe some Zoom meetings and stuff. And I'll certainly send out some information about when and if those are going to happen. But in the time being, I thought I'd take the opportunity to give you kind of the lay of the land, the expectations here with this class. So on the screen, you can see what you see. You see once you log into Blackboard, you have access to the Introduction to Psychology class. You click on that. You should be PSY101 OLB is the name of our section. And what I want to do is kind of go over this main page a little bit and then go into the resources and expectations specific to this class. So as you look at this main page, as you come in, you see there's going to be there's a banner, tells you where you are. There's the welcome to class. And then there's 3 sections here. Now this first section is going to change each week, and it basically, week 1 begins today, May 18th, ends May 24th at midnight. That's the due date for everything. And then it tells you what's going on this week. So this week, we're orientation, Chapter 1, an introduction to psychology, and then in red are the 3 graded things that you're going to be doing this week. So the Chapter 1 discussion, Chapter 1 quiz, and Chapter 1 assignment. So 3 things due right on this first week. This will change sometime Monday morning, and will be ready for you to kind of like as a kind of a lighthouse to focus your attention on. Now, there's no mystery in this class, where this information is actually copied from the Course Navigator document. So right underneath that, if you click there, what you're going to see is a week-to-week play plan or game plan for the entire semester. So you have week 1, week 2, week 3. All I'm doing is copying this material onto page 1, so you can look ahead. So you'll see, let's say, look at week 3. It's going to be a little bit of a busy week. We have Chapter 3, Biopsychology, and there's a discussion quiz associated with that. And then we're going to be also looking at states of consciousness. So we have Chapter 4, discussions A and B, and Chapter 4 quiz. So you see all the things that you're going to be doing, all those red things, that's going to be the work that you're going to submit for the class. So you can see the whole class, nothing's going to pop up, everything, you can look at everything, everything's available now, nothing is hidden, the whole course is there. Kind of my style of doing things. And so let's go back here to the main page so that we have this intro here, this section here that gives you what's going on this week, each week. We had the Course Navigator, and finally the start here, even though I didn't start there. The start here is a collection of information and resources for you to use, kind of get oriented to the class, important documents and whatnot. This video sort of supplements that, certainly, but let's go into the Start Here folder and see what's in there. First, what you're going to see, sort of introductory information about the course, beginning date, end date, we're online, who I am, where I am, and what my email address is. And I'm actually not at Averill. None of us are on campus right now. So, so some basic information about the class. Then we have the all-important course syllabus, the course book and textbook information, which I'm going to go over in just a minute. And then we have course policies and expectations. You want to read those. And you click on that. It's just a document, course expectations. It seems really like a lot of information, but a lot of it's pretty common sense. But these are the policies I hold you to, so make sure you get those done. Make sure you get those read. A little thing I do for success in college, I've been in college a long time, and kind of whittled this down, and I didn't whittle this down. I stole this from a college president's speech that I heard about. The 3 key ways of being successful in college are go to class, do your homework, and ask questions. That's it. Don't let anybody tell you it's any more complex than that. So read that, and I kind of go into what each one of those means. I think that's pretty cool information. And finally, even though this represents the last semester in which KVCC is using Blackboard as its learning management system, in the fall we're going to be switching to Brightspace, which is another product. But for the summer, you need to use Blackboard, and if you're not familiar with some of the things and some of the ways in which to interact with Blackboard, here you can click on Blackboard Skills Tutorials, and these are some brief videos that I've created about how to use messages, which is the tool that we have for communicating, like an email. This is what I prefer for you to use. I do have a KVCC email. It's full all the time. So I want you to use, when you have questions for the class, I want you to use those. Posting and replying in discussions, those are going to be graded aspects of your course, so you're going to want to make sure you know how to do that. Taking tests or quizzes or anything like that, how do you do that? Excuse me. Uploading assignments to a Dropbox, you will be doing that. And checking grades and accessing your instructor's feedback. And that's the loop that comes around. Don't be lazy in this. You do an assignment and you get a 90 or something, and you're like, okay, 90 is cool. And you just move on. But I don't take any points off without leaving you comments on how to improve your work, or what you missed, or what you didn't do, or something like that. That's part of the learning cycle. Without that feedback, the learning is about 50%. And so no matter what grade you get, even if you get 100, give me the opportunity to tell you did a good job. So I'll say, grade, or sometimes I won't leave anything. I'll let the grade just be the reward in its own. You got 100, good job. But sometimes, very often, I'll leave information like this is really good, and I'm particularly when people do really, really exceptional work. I like to reach out there and say, I've seen a lot of work, and when I come across exceptional work, I want to make sure that you know that somebody has seen that and recognizes exceptional work. So make sure you learn how to get that feedback. It is not intuitive in Blackboard. It's not like it jumps out, click here for feedback. You kind of have to go through these steps. We're really hoping Brightspace is going to be a little bit more intuitive about that. So those are the skill tutorials here. Let's go back. You can see what these are called. They're called breadcrumbs. You can kind of go back here to start here. And let's take a look at these 2 all-important links right here. So we have the course syllabus. Click that. It's going to open in a separate window. And this is a printable document. It's a PDF. Summer to 2020. Information about me. All the course books and textbook information is available online. If you went to the bookstore and they said this does not have a textbook, that is because I didn't place a textbook order. These are free, and you're going to be able to download them right here in the class. Course description, course objectives. This kind of goes over, we're going to be covering 16 chapters with the breadth of the entire world of psychology. And then we get into the course activities and introduce you to some of the elements of the class that are so important for you to know. The first is the course book, which I'll get into a little extensively in a minute, but the course book is essentially written by me, and it is the lessons. And that course book is divided in chapters, and each one of those chapters aligns with the chapter organization within Blackboard, chapter organization within your textbook. So when we're in chapter 1, there's a chapter 1 component in Blackboard, there's a chapter 1 component in the course book, and there's a chapter 1 component in the textbook. And you need to engage with all 3 of those. In the course book, which I'm going to show you in just a minute, all the material related to your assignments is described. The next aspect is those quizzes and assignments that are outlined in the course book. This is a generic syllabus, so I use it for both my face-to-face and online classes, and sometimes we don't know when that will change these days. So the attendance or graded online discussions becomes part of your grade. If this was face-to-face, you'd be graded for coming to class. Because it's online, you're graded for participating in the online discussions. So those are graded components. You can't skip them. You got to be able to do those, and we'll be going into those expectations when we visit those discussions. And finally, we get to the special assignments, and there's 3 special assignments. These kind of like float above. They're related to the whole course, but they float above them. The first is the research paper project. There's extensive information available in the course book about how to do this assignment. And then 2 smaller assignments, the quantitative analysis assignment, which we're actually going to be doing during the personality chapter, because the material we're going to be gathering is going to be personality. But it relates to our chapter on research methods about using correlations. So we're going to kind of tie those together. And then our problem solving assignment is actually related to the chapter on learning. Professionally, I'm a behavior analyst, and I use behavior management techniques, or I did use behavior management techniques when I was doing treatment, and this gives you an opportunity to kind of avail yourself to some opportunities to use behaviorism, rewards and punishments, and those kinds of things to change some personal behaviors. Our grading here you can see is everything adds up to 100%. Attendance, that 20% is actually your graded discussions. So think attendance is those graded discussions. 45% of the class is going to be the quizzes and assignments associated in the course book. 10% of your grade is the quantitative analysis on personality. Another 10% is that problem solving behavior plan thing that we're going to be doing. And finally, 15% of your class is going to be the research paper. Want you to note that the grading scale here is very similar to the regular grading scale here at KVCC, but you can't get below a 73 and still pass the class. So you have to do every component. The idea for the experience of a survey course like Intro to Psych is that you have attempted everything, and you get grades on everything, and that's how you ensure that your grades remain within the passing range. The attendance policies, course requirements, instructor policies, those are all available in Blackboard. And finally, if you do have a disability, or you think you might have a disability, we do have a mechanism at KVCC for getting into that. I cannot provide legally in any way by word of mouth accommodations or changes to the expectations of the course related to a disability. You have to actually go through the formal channels for that. So if that's an issue, you don't even have to talk to me about it. Just go right there and talk to the people in disability services about that. So we click out of that, and we go to course book and textbook information. Very vital place. So we click on there, and here is where you're going to get, instead of the bookstore, you're going to get your material here. And the first thing I'm giving it to you is the summer 2020 edition of my Introduction to Psychology course book. Now, this course book was designed as part of a M-Learning or mobile learning initiative that I have within the field, within the degree of psychology. It used to be in mental health as well. And that is the expectation of people having a iOS device as a mobile learning platform. And that's an iPad or an iPhone, an Apple iPad or an Apple iPhone. So the format of this ebook is specific, or one of the formats is specific to those devices. So if you look at this first link, select the link below to download the course book in iBooks format that is specifically for iOS. That's an iPhone, an iPad, an iMac. You click on there to get that document. If you are using a Windows PC or an Android device, you download the PDF version. So I'm not going to leave you out. You can still get that, and all the links work. It's really great. And so, so there's 2 formats of this. The top one here is specific to Apple devices, and the second one is for everything else. So you download that, and In addition to that, there's a textbook. And the textbook is for you. Click right there. There's a link. Click here to visit the main page for this textbook, and you can download it in a number of different formats. You want both of these. You're going to be required, or it's best to read both of these in preparation for the course. So let's take a look at this course book thing. So I have my course books here. It's going to come up with, here's all the course books, well, some of the course books that I've designed for the psychology program. And here's Introduction to Psychology. Now I've imported this into my iBooks, what's called books on the Mac. So as you look at this, whether you're looking at the PDF or you're looking on your device or whatever, it may look a little different, but you can figure out the navigation. So let's take a look at Introduction to Psychology here. I get that loaded up, and I'm in the middle of it here. I go to the menu, and I'm going to go to Index. And what this is, these are links within the e-document where you can jump from folder to folder. So if you're in the learning chapter, which is actually going to be where that behavior management assignment is, I want to go directly to there. I click on learning, and it jumps right to chapter 6. Now keep this in mind. You notice there are 16 chapters. For every chapter that is in the course book, there's a corresponding chapter in the textbook, and they're called the same thing. So chapter 6 in the course book is equivalent to chapter 6, not equivalent, but it goes along with chapter 6 in the textbook, called learning. And in Blackboard, in the content section, you're going to see chapter 6 learning. So it aligns. So you have Blackboard component, chapter 6. You have a course book component, chapter 6. And the textbook component, chapter 6. In each chapter, part of the creation of these I created a learning instructional design model that I call ALADA. And ALADA is a acronym that stands for Attention, Learning Outcomes, Teaching, and Assessment. And that is the order in which material is presented to you in the actual chapter. Might do the same thing in a classroom, like attention, learning outcome, teaching, and assessment. So here we are in the learning chapter, and the attention section is the psychology of slot machines. This is the variable ratio of reinforcement, a very powerful mechanism within behaviorism that actually helps explain why people become addicted to gambling. And so just a kind of a little interesting factoid will be in the attention section. We then move over to, there was a, right here, you'll see, and sometimes I have links. And if you're on the PDF, you have to click here. With anything, you click there and you get to it. This right here is a QR code. If you use your phone, I don't have my phone with me, but you can hold your phone and you have a QR code app, or you have a camera that's sensitive to that, hold that over that, it's going to actually connect you to the website. So that's kind of a cool little feature to add in there. Then we go to learning outcomes. This is what I'm expecting to learn from chapter 6. And then we go into the teaching. And the teaching refers you to the reading. So this is what you do first. So the process as you're approaching chapter 6, let's say we're in the week where we're going to do chapter 6, you read the textbook chapter 6 first. This is how you're going to get the most out of this class. I will tell you, you do not have to read the textbook to pass this class. You do have to read the textbook in order to get the most out of this class. Get the most out of this class. That's my advice. Your whatever program you're in wants you to take psychology because it's good information. I think it's interesting. You're carrying around a brain with you. You might as well learn how to use it. So read the textbook. It refers to your chapter 6, learning. Then go to the course book and you're reading through all of my material, and then you're doing the related assessments. So this is my lecture. We're in the course book, and this is my lecture. The stuff I want you to know, the stuff I'll go over. There's links to Over here, which is links to articles. There's a movie. If you click that, it brings you to a movie that you can watch. There's some, all movies, all kinds of images, applying classical conditioning to advertising. That's kind of a cool thing I like to talk about. Then we go into operant conditioning. This is what the behavior plan is going to be about. Make our way through all of this content here. Oh, there's great. This is Captain Marvel, even part of my course book here. And then we get into the section of the course where I describe to you what I want you to do that I'm going to grade. And it's an online discussion. So here, it's an online course. So here we have our, the chapter 6 discussion. Now, and I give you what I want you to do. In many aspects of your life, your behavior is shaped and managed by reinforcers, which you just learned about. Discuss at least 2 aspects of your life that involve reinforcement and describe the reinforcement schedule. Now, once you've read the textbook and you've read the course book, you understand what these, and I'm asking you to give me an example from your real life as to how this is going on. So the expectation of the discussions is that you're going to go into the course, and I'll show you where those are. You're going to go into the Blackboard course. You're going to access, in this case, the Chapter 6 discussion, and you're going to post your answer to this prompt. You're going to give your example. At the same time, well, no, shortly after that, you're going to look at what other people posted, and you're going to comment on it. You're going to have a dialogue. The discussions replace the dialogue that would normally happen at face-to-face class when people are giving examples, and like you comment on that person, and you kind of have a discussion. The advantage, really, of online learning is that everybody gets to participate. In a face-to-face class, you only have a truncated piece of time, maybe 3 hours if you're in a once a week, or an hour and 20 minutes. There's so much content to get through. Some people just kind of like ride it out and they don't get to talk at all. In an online class, everybody has to say something, so it's a really, sometimes in many ways, better than a face-to-face class. So you'll be posting, and you have, for full credit, you have to reply to at least 2 other persons' postings. And that is for each discussion, not each week. You may have multiple discussions due in a particular week. And each one of those discussions requires 3 posts from you at minimum. So you have the main post, which is a reply to what the prompt, and then at least 2 responses to other people. And they're substantive responses. That's cool, I agree, that doesn't fly. You have to be deeper than that. Compare your example to theirs. Ask them a question about it. Get into more. I'm not going to be word counting. I'm not going to be doing anything like that, but I want a substantive discussion about this stuff. The next thing you'll see is a quiz. And I give you the questions. For the most part, I think there's only one quiz where I don't actually give you the questions because it's a matching of something to get to the nerve. I give you the questions ahead of time so you can prepare your answers, craft them, spell check, run them by people, call a friend, whatever it is you're going to do. And in here I said, explain the difference between learned behavior and instincts. When you've read all this material, I'm asking you to regurgitate that. Tell me what it is that is the difference between these 2. Key right here. Here's a really, really, really good point. In your definition, provide a clear example. A definition and an example are 2 very different things. Welcome to psychology. I will ask you to define and give an example many times in this class. Make sure that those are distinct. The definition is what it is. The example is something in the real world, something from your life. This is psychology. We all experience it. We all have examples. I'm looking for you to be able to access those and report them out to me. You go into the course, access the quiz, paste your answer in there. Your interaction with Blackboard is pretty minimal. In this particular chapter, it also has an assignment. Now, assignments are written documents, like in Word, or a presentation, a picture, or something like that, depending on the assignment. And those are submitted as files up to Blackboard. You don't write them into Blackboard. You don't copy and paste them into there, even though there is a space to do that. You have to send the actual physical document. And so this particular assignment is I have you undergo the process of analyzing a piece of advertising, namely this one. We had this Coca-Cola ad, and you had this woman holding on to the tray of Coca-Cola, and this is an advertisement. And to actually apply the mechanism of classical conditioning in the analysis as to why, in essence, this kind of ad works to sell Coke. And so, and you'll see that in each one of the assignments, there's a grading, I call it criteria for success, but it's essentially a grading rubric. Title page, make sure you put a title page. What is the unconditioned stimulus, the unconditioned response, neutral stimulus? This may be meaningless to you right now, but once you've read the chapter in the textbook, once you've read the course book, this has meaning. I'm asking you to demonstrate your knowledge through this assignment. So that's the structure. That's the ALATA structure of the course book. Now, in addition to all 16 chapters, memory, lifespan development, psychological disorders, chapter 15, getting into, we also have this section called special assignments. So I go to special assignments, in this case, chapter 17. I go in that this is where you get specific information on those other assignments. Now, I'll be working with you and communicating very clearly when we're doing this. So, for example, in the correlation and decision making, I will be announcing what we're going to be doing, the data that we're going to be gathering, how we're going to actually put that data together. It's going to be when we're talking about personality. And here's where you get some information about that particular. Now, this course comes with a built-in assignment that you don't need any interaction. It comes with a built-in assignment for this, like this built-in data. We're going to be doing it a little bit different. So you don't want to do this one ahead of time. You don't want to do this when we get to the personality chapter, because we're going to be doing something a little different, but basically applying the same kind of assignment. And I'll be sending out some support for you to do that. Then we go into the personal change assignment. This is pretty much the way it is. It's kind of an extensive one. When we start talking about operant conditioning, this will make a lot more sense. And then the third and final one, probably the one that's going to cause you the most joy and pain, is the research paper. Now, the notion of a research paper in an introduction to psychology class is twofold. First, psychology is full of interesting things that are interesting to read about and interesting to discover. It is the most fascinating field. Even scientists in other fields will look at psychology as like the grand mystery. We really, really are an interesting topic to cover. So I want you to be able to find a question about the field of psychology or about a content within the field of psychology that you want to explore at a deeper level. The second purpose of a research project in psychology is to expose you to what we refer to as peer-reviewed literature. So essentially, you're going to be composing a question. You won't be doing a topic. You're not going to be doing what is schizophrenia, boring. Anything that you can cover, anything that you can get the answer to with a single Google search is not going to be acceptable. So let's say you were going to do a paper, and I'm going to pull one out of the archives here, one that I often talk about. I had a student several years ago whose daughter was gifted and was heading into kindergarten. She was concerned that her gifted child, having read about it in psychology, that her gifted child would be left behind because she's bored. She's going to have some, they had behavior problems at home. They wanted to make sure that she didn't have those same behavior problems at school. So, and she wanted to be able to approach the kindergarten teacher with some substantive material. So she ended up, this was the title to her paper. I love this title. What methodologies can a kindergarten teacher use to enhance the educational experience of a gifted child? Whoa. So that's the kind of question. It was compelling for her. She was interested in it. It had a real world effect. That's what I'm looking for you to come up with. is that kind of question. It really, and then here's what we're going to be doing. I am not going to be asking you to research what does YouTube say about this. I'm not going to be asking for you to research what medical websites say about this, or I'm trying to think of that medical website, that MedPub or whatever it is. I want you, every title is going to be predicated, what does the psychological literature say? According to the psychological literature, what are the methodologies a kindergarten teacher can use to enhance the educational experience of a gifted child? According to the psychological literature, the only resources that you are going to use in your paper, the only resources are going to be peer-reviewed professional articles. These are articles that are not written for you. They're difficult to read. They're difficult to encounter. If you have problems sleeping, keep one on your bedside, start reading it. You'll be done, 5 minutes. These are very challenging readings. That's the point. The point of an introduction into the field of psychology is to point you in the direction and have you experience in a small way, where do we get this information? As a psychologist, when I say something that's psychologically related, you turn to me and say, where'd you get that? I can tell you. I got it from that literature, that research that used the scientific method. So I'll be limiting the scope. You will be limiting the scope of what you look at to answer that question. You'll be ignoring your own opinions. You'll be ignoring your own experience. You'll be ignoring everything except what the field of psychology says about that particular. That's the discipline of your mind that you're going to be doing in this research paper. So essentially, you're not even responsible for the outcomes. You're going to be reporting what the psychological literature says about this. Your opinion may align with that. Your opinion may be completely different from that. And in the grand scheme of things, you still have the ability, based on the context of that question, to draw your own conclusions. But in this class, what you're going to experience is doing true research, looking at the existing knowledge that we have on a particular topic and reporting out on that. So that's going to be the thing. This early in the class, what I want you to start looking at is the field of psychology. Go through the book, go through the textbook, start thinking about things that have interested you about the human experience, and start communicating with me about what you might want to do research on. I will help you formulate that question. I will help you formulate that question in a way that enables you to get research. And that's a learning process. It's how you ask the question. You know how that is. I mean, if you go up to someone, you have to know how to ask. Not just what you want to ask for, but you have to know how to ask. What language do I use? How do I approach this question so that I can get what I want? And I can help you doing that. So us communicating, this is on a one-on-one basis for each one of you. Us communicating about your research paper is vital. I totally enjoy that process. So we will be doing a lot of that. So in addition to that, here's the special assignment section. And then you have this, chapters 18, 19, and 20. Chapter 18, writing and APA format. We'll get to that in just a second. Using your device. If you have an iOS device, this goes into writing papers on your iPad. You know, what apps to use and whatnot. And then any apps that I do put in here, this is specifically for the iOS ones. There's some tutorials on that. None of those are related to graded materials. You don't need any of them for graded materials, but there's information that's there. Now, you are, however, going to need the writing in APA format because your research paper needs to be in APA format. If you're not familiar with that, this is where you go to get familiar with that. APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and they're the most widely used publishing format for scientific information in the world. There's a section on doing research. This is how do you ask good questions? How do you start with Google, but you don't end with Google? Textbooks. What is plagiarism? paper reader to make sure that you don't plagiarize. Then we go into general writing and clarity. As an instructor, I really want you to read all this. I really want you to learn this. I can't make you do it. I'm not going to test you on it. But this is really good material. Just basically how to write. And then an introduction to this thing called APA format, which is going to haunt you, I trust me, for your entire time in college. Copies of the APA manuals, the Purdue Online Writing Lab, the OWL website world. This was around when I was in school. Getting right into that. And then there's 3 areas: title pages, in-text citations, and references. Those are the 3 components that I'm going to be focusing on in terms of APA format. APA is, like, measuring boundaries, what kind of text, it's an exercise in OCD-ness. We're going to be looking at the title pages, in-text citations, and references. Those will need to be in compliance with APA standards. So this is where you learn how to do that. So that is our course book in books. And I want to go back to Blackboard here. So we were in the Start Here section. And that's really basic course information, the course syllabus, course and textbook information, all of these things. Now, what else is over here? When you go to, here's that main entry page again. I want to point out the announcements. The announcements section, there's nothing in there right now, but this is where I'm going to be posting feedback. Not grading feedback, but let's say at the end of chapter 6, I've graded all the assignments. I'm going to post in here when I've graded all the assignments to say, go check it out. Go check out my feedback. Go find what it is that I've said about your assignment. Go see your grade. I'll announce those changes in due dates, changes in assignments themselves. When I talk about right off here, I'm going to be pretty soon. I'm going to be telling you about that personality assignment. And there's some additional instructions. I'll be putting those into the announcement section. You want to avail yourself to these every day. You want to check into this every day. You don't have to do work every day, but you want to check the announcements every day in this class. We have 12 weeks. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening in those 12 weeks. So that's the announcement section. Over here, we see messages, and this is sort of like our little email client for just us. This is where I want you to, if you have something to say to me or we need to dialogue about something, this is the place to do it. The discussions, right at the beginning here, see somebody did post already, but course questions, tactical questions, these are seen by everybody, student lounge, and introductions. I want each one of you to go into the introduction section, and I want you to post a little bit about yourself, and we're going to dialogue about that. This is ungraded, but let's get to know each other a little bit. Now, all the chapter discussions scroll from here, but there's a better way to access the graded discussions, and that's going to be down here in the content section. Now, remember I told you that there's an alignment between Blackboard, the course book, and the textbook. So here's the Blackboard component. So you're going to see Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4. And all the naming is the same. So Chapter 1 in Blackboard, an introduction to psychology. Chapter 1 in the course book, introduction to psychology. Chapter 1 in the textbook, introduction to psychology. You engage all of those. And the order, textbook, course book, Blackboard. Do it in that order. You click on Chapter 1. Well, let's actually stick with Chapter 6. We've been talking about Chapter 6 here, but Chapter 1 is obviously due now. But Chapter 6, and I go in there, and it says, please read the course book first. And if you're skipping around and not doing all of this stuff, do not neglect the course book. That is telling you what I'm looking for. So that beguiling question of what is the professor, what is the teacher looking for is answered in the course book. And I expect you to read that. And here we have a direct link to the discussion, a direct link to the quiz, and a direct link to the assignment. Everything you need for Chapter 6, for Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3 is all right in that folder, in that content section. So let's look at Chapter 1, the one that's due now. Chapter 1, read the course book. There's a discussion, a quiz, and an assignment. And this is where you go to participate in those. You've read the textbook, you've read the course book, and now you're into Blackboard. And you'll have a clear understanding of what those expectations are. Now those special assignments, the correlation assignment, the behavior plan, and the research paper are in the special assignment section. So here we see the drop box for the correlation decision making and the drop box for the personal change, and we see the drop box for the research paper. Let's click on that and you'll see there's a proposal. So in the process of defining your question, we're going to use this quiz where you're going to propose to me your question. Now the questions of this quiz are in the course book, special assignment section in the research project. You have to go see that. Put your proposal, I grade it. You do not have an approved proposal until you have a 100 on this quiz. Now that grade will not count at the end, but it counts now as a process for me to communicate to you that you have an approved topic. But even if you get 100, you want to go back in there because I might leave you with some resources, some starting points to help you on. And even outside of this, I'm willing to engage with you in messages and just have a dialogue as you're preparing to actually go in and do the proposal. There's a resource list here. This is a resource list put together by the library about journals and where you're going to actually find this data. And then you have the opportunity to send a draft submission. The draft submission will focus on format to make sure the APA stuff, I'll be reading a little bit. I won't be reading for the kind of detail that I have in the final submission, but I can go over them to make sure your format is okay, make sure your references are okay. You want to avail yourself in this. I did this. I really have not done a whole lot of draft submissions before. I did it in the summer, and the difference between those who submitted a draft and those who didn't is dramatic, to the point of passing, failing the class. So I really encourage you to send me a draft. Let me see what you're doing. You can do this informally, but this is a formal way, and there's a date associated with, when do I want to get those in order to get them back to you so that you can make final changes before you submit the final. This is going to be a new experience for you. Even if you've done research papers before, you haven't done one of my research papers. So this is a really, really good opportunity to work with me very closely and get that done. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the class. That is our Introduction to Psychology class. So this week, I want you to orient yourself to the class, start clicking around all over the place, go into the introductions section for in the discussions and post a little bit about yourself so we can get to know each other, and start thinking about that research paper. Start thinking about those questions that you've had and run them by me. I've been teaching this class for a while, so there's a lot of topics that I know stuff about, and I can maybe twist your discussion in a particular way. Usually people come in more general and they need to get more specific. So I can help you kind of like move away from those general type of topic research related questions into something more focused that's appropriate for this class. So let's have a great summer. We have 12 weeks in front of us of hopefully beautiful weather. Despite social distancing, we're connecting this way. Anticipate that I'm going to be experimenting with videos such as this one. I have a YouTube channel. I may be including some of those depending on the topics that I'm doing there. That's sort of a separate project, but sometimes they align. And I'm going to be throwing out some opportunities for some Zoom meetings. These will be optional, but some opportunities for us to actually have dialogues over video. And so be prepared for that. I'll give you plenty of notice. I'll be setting up any of those. And in addition, if you need to talk with me, if you need to have a dialogue, email is so limited, it's so difficult. If you need to set up a time with me and say, Mark, I just need a face-to-face here, let's do it. We can do it over Zoom. This is all I'm doing all summer. And so I've got plenty of time, plenty of flexibility. I'm very, very committed to helping you do the very best that you can. So I hope this video has helped you orient you to the class, and good luck, and I will get to know you a little bit in the introduction discussions. So I'll see you then. Take care.